Hi there, my name is Aaron Short and welcome to my YouTube channel. Back with another hangout and interview today with the one and only Ross Bailey from Yamaha Guitar Group and Line 6. How you doing, Ross?
I'm good, and there definitely only needs to be one and only me, because the world doesn't need more than one me. That'd be bad for everyone.
Well, it's great to see you. We hung out at NAMM in January.
Yeah,
It feels like yesterday, doesn't it? With Henning, made some videos together. And those videos we made with Henning would never be made ever again. So I'm glad we got to do it at the time.
Yeah, and incredibly, I still have a job.
Hi, if you're in the chat, hi, I'll come and read your comments, ask your questions as we go. We're going to focus on acoustic guitars today because I just grabbed one of these FG830 guitars as something to recommend to beginner players. I have to say, this does not feel like a beginner instrument. This is something that I've been strumming on this week, and I don't even think about it like that. It's an amazing guitar. I want to talk about how Yamaha do these really affordable guitars, and also touch on their custom shop and high-end guitars as well as their pickups, because I talk a lot about acoustic guitar pickups on the channel. I've done a review, and I had Sam on. We discussed the atmosphere in detail, so check out that video later on. And I talk about other pickups too, and there's some other things I haven't covered with Yamaha, so I want to talk about all that. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat about anything. Anything's fine. Now, Ross, you're obviously in England, right? Where are you from originally?
Yes, Nottingham.
Oh, right. I went to college there, Beeston College.
There you go.
I used to play gigs at they had a jam night at the Golden Fleece in Nottingham. Remember that place?
Yeah, yeah. I have gigged there many times myself.
Oh wow. Okay, we've got that in common. So look, there's Yamaha Guitar Group. Obviously, bought Line 6, right? So were you at Yamaha Guitar Group before you were at Line 6, or what happened with that?
I have kind of a potted jumping around the industry kind of history, I guess. Worked in retail for many years, and got a job from retail with Line 6 a long time ago. I can't remember, I'm terrible with dates and years, but my first job was to launch Veta to the UK. So yeah, a long time ago. Spent a bunch of years with Line 6, left, did a few other things, and then joined Yamaha in 2015. Spent a couple of years with Yamaha, and then decided it would be an awesome idea to become a self-employed musician for a living, which was, in hindsight, a really stupid idea. But I got away with it for a couple of years, did some freelance stuff for Yamaha, and Line 6 videos and stuff, and then this job came up with what was then still the relatively new Yamaha Guitar Group, part of the company. And it was like, yeah, man, I've got to get back into this. I love Line 6, I love Yamaha guitars, and it just makes sense. So yeah, it was tough going, but yeah, they were silly enough to give me the gig. So really happy.
So
and I'm two years in now.
So you were at Line 6, then you were at Yamaha, then you left, then you came back to YGG, which is Yamaha and Line 6.
Yeah, so I was at Line 6 before Yamaha bought the company.
Oh wow! So you were there. Like I have a Stagescape mixer here. The older kind of products like that. So you were there for all that development as well with Sean Halley and all those Variac stuff and everything.
No, I left before the Stagescape, before any of the PA stuff. Actually, I left. I can't remember what year, but just before Pod X3 hit. So 2006, I want to say. Something like that. I know my son was young, so
that's cool though. You've got a lot of history with the companies. That's really cool. So what about
I continue.
What about growing up?
Sorry, I continued to use the products kind of even when I left, so it was great.
Yeah. Well, that's good because you're a product specialist now. So I'll be asking you lots of questions. So
we'll find out.
How about growing up? So you're from Nottingham. Did you play guitar when you were young? What kind of guitars did you play? Were you more acoustic, more electric? What kind of bands were you into?
This is going to be a fascinating one this evening because I'm an awful acoustic guitar player. Yeah, definitely more into the electric. I think I was like 12 years old, and saw, like so many people my age, I saw Marty McFly play Johnny B. Good. And it was like, yeah, I want to do that.
Actually, I'm looking behind you. That's a nice collection. What's that Strat on the far right or your left?
That one?
Yeah.
That's a Sur.
Oh, nice. I was looking at those today. It's got the humbucker in the bridge, right?
Yeah, because I mean, the stuff I do kind of these days, I need a bunch of different sounds. So I mean, and this is going to sound kind of weird to a lot of people, but and it's an awesome guitar, right? And you'll never hear me, regardless of who I work for, you'll never hear me kind of downgrade any other brand or whatever. That is a fantastic guitar. That is the backup to that.
So what's that? Oh, Pacifica. Okay.
So that's Pacifica 612. And it's stock, but I put bare knuckle pickups in for no reason other than I could. And why not? But yeah, that Pacifica has been my main guitar for 2 years. Done a load of gigs, a load of tour dates with it. It's the Mike Stern signature just over there. Revstar behind me, and the Variacs for when I need an acoustic and an electric in the same song. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I just asked because I was playing through my Helix and my Synergy today, and I was using my single coils, and I started thinking about humbucker guitars. So maybe I should check out that Pacifica as well as the Sur. But anyway, one of my first electrics was a Pacifica. Briefly had one of those, and my first acoustic was a Yamaha FG something. I can't remember. I had it until a few years ago. But I do remember it was excellent. Oh, I can't remember. I'm not sure which model it was. I had a pickup in there. I used it on stage. It sounded really good for what it was. But of course, one thing everyone says about Yamaha equipment and guitars is they're great value for money. So my first question is, why is that? How do they make this? I mean, okay, I got it wrong in my review. I said this was solid. It's not solid rosewood. It's rosewood, but it's laminate. But the top is solid. It's about $300. How do they make this guitar sound so good for that kind of price?
So, I mean, we've got, and there's an alarming number of people that don't actually realize this. We've got a pretty considerable heritage. I mean, the company itself, the music side of the company, is 120 something years old now. And we've been through organs and all sorts. We started making guitars in 1966, and it was the FG 180, which at that time, kind of similar to now, no one could really touch it. We released a guitar that was really inexpensive but absolutely awesome. I had the pleasure of going out to the museum that we have in Hamamatsu, our mothership in Japan, and we had like an original FG 180 there, and it was just insane. I mean, we talk about the laminate. I see people talking about laminate, or the new kind of cool buzzword marketing word these days is layered. And they talk about it like it's a really bad thing. Solid wood has to be better. Well, there's maybe an argument for that, but actually in reality, if you do layered or laminate properly, and you do it really well, it sounds fantastic, So as far as how we can make the quality of guitars that we do for the price, a lot of it is we make them. We don't have another company making them for us. We make everything. We have our own factories. We train all those luthiers. And I mean, the FG series, I visited our factory in China as well. And I should have thought, actually, I took a load of photos, and it's pretty insane the level of skill that those luthiers have. And the actual effort that he's put into making those guitars. The quality control is just crazy, It's tested at every point along the kind of chain. It's not a huge factory. There's not as many people working there as you might think. And everyone knows what's happening at every point. So if someone spots something that's wrong during the actual making of it, they'll flag it up and it'll go back and it'll get fixed.
Okay, my first question. What does FG stand for?
Folk guitar.
Okay. I assume so. I'm just checking. All right. So that first guitar you saw in the museum, was that the same construction as what you would buy now, or was that a very much different guitar? Like like the way a Martin guitar from the 50s is different to a Martin guitar now. Was that a different kind of build?
It would. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't. There is and this is something I discovered comparing or seeing both the Japan factory and the China factory. There are methods to making an acoustic guitar properly, if that's the right term, and you can do an amount with machines or CNC or whatever, but you can do a lot with electric guitars. You can only go so far with acoustic guitars, and then the rest has to be done a certain way for it to work. And for it to sound a certain way. Something Yamaha have always been very conscious of, not just the quality control, but the actual research and development, and making sure that everything is done correctly and to the absolute best it can be. So, that's why you have a $300-400 guitar behind you. And that actual specific model, I don't know how global this was, but that won, certainly in the UK, it won awards. It won best guitar over guitars that were 3 times its price.
Yeah, I knew it would be good because I owned one recently, 2 or 3 years ago. I owned one. I knew it would be good, but I'm not just saying this. I was blown away by this thing is amazing. It's good for a $300 guitar. It's just a good guitar.
Yeah.
And that's my new benchmark. So I have a thing now. Like if any company wants me to try a $300 guitar that will beat that, then be my guest. I don't think I'm going to find one.
Well, with the 800 series now, I mean, the 700 series kind of transformed a lot of retailers' tills.
Mm.
I mean, when we released the FG 700, I mean that was just, someone came in went into a store for an acoustic guitar at that price point, and it was like, there you go, that's what you need, and it it was awesome for a very long time, and it was around for a long time. I think 8 years, 9 years, maybe. And it was due for an upgrade, so we did our research and we came up with the 800 series. And one of the big kind of selling points for the 800 series, I guess, is it's got scallop bracing,
Yes.
which at that price point just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And if you speak to the kind of super luthiers, I guess, George Loudon or Bob Taylor or Jean Larive, whoever, they'll kind of say to you, but yeah, you can't really do mass-produced scallop bracing.
Yeah. So is that all done by machine? Is that done mostly by machines then for those guitars?
All by hand.
Wow, that's super impressive. It really is amazing.
The FG series is largely made by hand, which we, for some reason, we don't talk about, and I think we should. Yeah. But the vast majority of it is made by hand.
Yeah, very impressive. So let's fill in some gaps then. I'm very familiar with the 830. Obviously, I have one. I'm familiar with the Red Label. I have one. I'm familiar with the silent guitars. Let's fill in some gaps. So for $300, this is the guitar I'll recommend to anyone wanting to learn acoustic guitar right now. Is there an even more affordable Yamaha acoustic guitar? What does the lineup look like around this kind of price point?
Well, there are models below that. So there's the 820, which is just not quite as pretty. And the 800, and the 800 is just kind of matte finish. And there is a gloss finish one as well, but the 800 is, and I can't talk to you about prices, unfortunately, because I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's me being rubbish more than anything.
It's okay. They prices change anyway, but obviously that model is slightly cheaper than this one behind me, right?
Yeah, and obviously we work differently in the UK, as you know. So I could say a price, and someone can be cheaper than that or more expensive than that, and it's all it can all get messy. So yeah, I mean, price wise, the 800 will be cheaper than the 830. So you got the 800, the 820, 830, 840, and 850. So you've got a bunch of different models. Then there's the electro versions as well, which you'll know because it says FGX.
And what pickup is in those guitars? Do you know?
I can't remember the model number because I'm terrible. But it's kind of we don't use a third party. Again, we kind of try and design everything in house, right. Or we do design everything in house. So all of our pickup systems, and Yamaha have always been awesome at making pickups, or pickups and preamps. So yeah, it's our own pickup and preamp in there, and it sounds great.
Don't worry, I have the power.
Sounds really good.
I have the power of Google. Yamaha undersaddle piezo pickup and System 66 analog preamp. I wonder if it's the same undersaddle as the Zero Impact pickup that's in the LL series, because that's a very decent undersaddle. I'm not sure. I haven't used that preamp or pickup system, but impressive to have a pickup in a guitar again around that kind of price point. So very cool.
Yeah.
What would you? And once again, I see this with guitar companies all the time. If you want a cutaway, you got to get the preamp in the side. A lot of companies do that. You can't just get a cutaway with no pickup system. It's like if you're gonna have a pickup, you're gonna shred, and if you know that's the kind of mentality of it. What would you recommend then? Because obviously you've played a lot of these at the trade shows and your demos. What would you recommend to someone that's sitting at home right now thinking I want to learn acoustic guitar? Which model is your recommendation?
I mean, that's always a tough one, because it's kind of a certain amount of it is how much do you want to spend, And I've been doing clinics in stores and watched people come in and say, yeah, I want to start learning guitar, and 5 minutes later they walk out with a $4,000 Taylor or something, because they can, you know,
and you should, if you can afford it, you should, right? It's fine. It's
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to start driving. Yeah, that's great. Let's get a Rolls Royce. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done. I'm really happy for you. I guess, you know, tradition or whatever, you know, you would probably say the FG 800 or the FS 800 is a slightly smaller body. Again, if you're younger, or you're not the size of me and you,
we're very tall. We're sitting down right now, but we're both very tall.
Yeah. Yeah, the FS might be a better option. So concert size, so smaller body versus our Dreadnought. And yeah, again, it's the model is, they change as you go through the range because of different body woods. But yeah, it's play them, I think, is the biggest thing I can say. Anyone that wants to learn anything, play the guitar.
I hope you know.
You know, go.
I hope you know the answer to this. So, if FG is folk guitar, what is FS?
Folk silliness. You know what? I did know this.
Oh man, it's okay. No one knows. It's just a.
That's going to be someone. That's going to be someone I work with testing me now. I know that.
I'll give it to the chat. We've got some friends here. You can use Google. It's fine. What does FS mean for Yamaha acoustic guitars? Go and research it while we're talking. Let's say hi to Pooh Ninja. Pooh Ninja's here. Big fan of Yamaha guitars. Patsy Smith from Suffolk. Paul Shedden's here.
Hello.
Good and interesting discussion. Yeah. Acoustics is definitely Aaron's love. They are one of my loves. Yeah, my main love. Bob Dobson, hello Aaron, live from Washington State. Missing the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch is currently in Pennsylvania. Someone just posted a picture of it over there. Might be coming to Nottingham soon. Have you?
Yeah. That's pretty cool, though, isn't it?
Have you ever seen a Sasquatch in Nottingham? Probably several of them, right?
There's a couple of pubs and there's a few of them.
Excuse me. Rosalind is here from Connecticut. Hi, Rosalind. And Paul Shedden says, my camera is very high def. Yeah, I'm actually thinking about selling this camera to get a lower quality camera so you can't see the grey hairs and the lines on my face as clearly. I think we're scammed with this technology, aren't we? I don't want to be clearer. I want to be fuzzier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of enjoying it because, like, my light is up there, so it's just, you can just about see the bald spot, and that's that. The rest of me, all the crow's feet and the years of abuse are kind of largely hidden, so it's good.
And one more comment. Hi, Aaron. Do you still have the silent guitar? I do. Talk about him. Okay, I will. I call it a her, but we'll talk about that. And Marco's here. Hi, Marco. All right, let's work our way up the line then. I highly recommend this guitar for a beginner, or I wouldn't mind putting a pickup. So I'm going to use this for. I'm going to do some like beginners lessons and recommend this to beginners, and to try and sell some through my Amazon account. But also I'm going to use it to like try pickups and things like that. So why not get one of these and put a pickup in it and use it? It's not. My point is, it's not just for beginners. But let's move our way up the line. So if I came to you and said to one of your workshops and said, right, I bought this guitar, I bought the FG 830, I'm ready to spend some more money. What would you recommend? What's the next step up from an FG 830?
Well, before we go there, just going back to the beginners thing, if there's someone on like a seriously tight budget, we can actually go one below or a couple below the FG and just go to the regular F series. So the F310 has been, I believe, like or certainly one of the best-selling beginners guitars in history. I mean, just crazy amounts of them, and they're so cheap, so inexpensive. Shouldn't say cheap. Cheap's a bad word.
You know,
so inexpensive.
Let me just tell you this. I was at the Apple store. It was so funny. I was at the Apple store, and I said to the girl there, "What's the cheapest? Whatever it was, iMac, whatever. What's the cheapest?" She said, "The most affordable is this one." So now I always say that. I always say that in my videos. This is very affordable. I never say this is cheap anymore. Yeah, sorry, I had to put that in there.
It's yeah, you know what? It's like the kind of they're great value for money or whatever, and it's like I don't think I've ever really liked that phrase. It's kind of certainly as far as Yamaha guitars go, I've always said they punch well above their weight.
Bang for your buck. Right, what I'll do is I'll go to Sweetwater and I'll look this model up. This is for our friends in America. So
it's the F310.
Sorry, say that again.
F310.
F310. Okay, let me see if it comes up, and I'll go to my desktop. That is a 37 key mini keyboard.
Right, there you go.
That's not it. I'm switching over.
There's so that could just be me. There is a chance that they're not being brought in, or not being imported to the US. I can't check.
I'll do a search by price. Let me do that. So Yamaha acoustic guitar, and then search from low to high. Okay, I'll tell you what comes up with the cheapest price point. You can tell me what you think about it, because you're not. You're not biased.
Yeah, they could start at the FGs, but there is one.
Our friends can see this on the screen. So actually, I bought this in the past as well. The Junior 3/4 size. Bought that for my nephew. $150. That's a decent
cool
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool. The Juniors and the Guitar Lele.
Look at is it Guitar Lele?
Yes.
I didn't see
that. As used by none other than John Mayer.
Really? No.
He's not an official endorsee, but seriously, he uses a Guitar Lele.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know he's got a very expensive little mini Martin kind of thing. I didn't know he had one of those. Mind you, I'm sure he has one of everything. But
of course, all the guitars.
All I see is that for a 3/4 size, which is great for a obviously not someone our size or Ed Sheeran. And I see the FG 800 for $199.99. So the FG 800 is the cheapest one. Sorry, most affordable one.
So if you're in the US, you can't get an F310 apparently. For anyone watching in UK or Europe, F310 is below the FG.
There is a Geek Maker standard acoustic natural pack, which has a case, some strings, a tuner, a strap, and a pick, which is $180. So that's the F325.
I could, something like that.
Maybe it's that.
Sounds
okay.
about right.
So that'd be great for someone who really wants to start. And I'm sure it's still a decent guitar too. Then we got the 800. 800's $199.99, and then I'm just seeing what 820 is $279.99, and then the one that I have is $320. Obviously, you can negotiate these things, but yeah, $320 is the price on Sweetwater right now. So okay, so let me keep going then.
Yeah, you can go up in the 800 series as well. What we have is, you can absolutely go up in price, but you can also go across. So what we seem to be quite good at is offering a lot of different price points, but a lot of different options as well. And we do have tons of different guitars. My first Yamaha guitar was an APX, and it was the first issue of the APX. So again, that's perfect. Like I say, I'm not what you would call an acoustic player. I strum Wonderwall and things like that, but I certainly can't do finger picky stuff or anything. And going, when I needed an acoustic for a tour, I'm like, I don't know what. And then the APX showed up, which very slim body, great if you're of a smaller frame, because it is super slim. The neck's really playable, but obviously if you're an electric guitar player, it's a very drastic jump between an electric guitar, and particularly guitars that I was playing back then, shredded guitars, to a proper acoustic, a Dreadnought or a Jumbo. So the APX was a really nice transition for me. And I toured that for years, and it was fantastic. And APXs are still around.
Yeah, I remember those. They're electroacoustics, right?
They're electroacoustics, very slim body, and people loved the APX a lot. And again, you've got various models. You can go right up to kind of super high end stuff with SRT preamps, and we can talk a bit more about preamps later. But a lot of people loved the APX, but actually wanted the playability and kind of the anti-feedback stuff, but with a more traditional body. So we did the CPX or the Compass series.
Okay.
So yeah, similar kind of vibe, similar playability, but a bigger size body.
Okay, let me just catch up to the chat. Danielle says, I was at an open mic and a young fellow asked me if he could try my guitar. I let him play. After 10 minutes, he asked me the price. He immediately handed back my Santa Cruz OM back to me. Yeah, well, Danielle, that's why you should get the Yamaha, and then you can lend that to people at open mic. That's a nice guitar, though, the Santa Cruz. Wow. Bob Dobson, my first good 12-string was a Yamaha. That's cool.
Yeah.
Marco, best beginner Yamaha is the F310. Yeah, he agrees.
There we are.
And Paul Shedden, as a beginner, getting the right gauge strings was a big thing. Ease of forming chords. I got to say, this Yamaha, the 830, has very good low action. I just turned the truss rod slightly, very good low action. I agree, if you're learning, why not put 10 gauge on there? You know, why have 12s on there? Why fight it? Put 11 gauge. I have to say, I just played my first gig this weekend, just gone. Well, not my first gig, but I'm playing very rare gigs, you know, outside right now. And my fingers were so sore at the end of that gig because I'm doing a lot of recording and streaming. I'm not doing 4-hour gigs every night like I was 6 months ago. And my fingers were so sore. And so why, you know, and that's someone that plays a lot, right, professionally. So if you're learning the guitar, why not just get a low action, low gauge string while you're learning and build up from there? Don't go straight in for 12s or 13s. I agree with that, Paul. And Rowett said, the F325 was my first guitar 10 years ago. Pretty nice. Impressed with the 800 series. Great tone for the price. So a lot of, it's interesting, isn't it? A lot of people's first guitars were Yamaha guitars. Now, what happens is, if you surf the acoustic guitar forum like I do, which can be a dangerous place to be, but there's definitely a stigma. There's definitely a love for Martin guitars because of the history and Taylor and all that and Santa Cruz. The thing about Yamaha, though, you have to remember that, like you said at the beginning of the program, they've been around a long time. They know what they're doing. Been making guitars for a long time, and I think sometimes people forget that. I think I was guilty of that. You know, I think you can see them as I had that guitar when I was a kid, and then you play it and you think, well, this is better than a lot of the guitars I play as a grown up. So I think people need to. That's why I want to have you on and talk about them. Now, speaking of that, I see there's the LL6. This is an interesting model. The LL6 and the LL16 and the LL26 are jumbo-sized guitars and very, very interesting guitars. So can you tell us about those three models and what's special about them?
Well, L series. So L series came a little bit later, and it's. I think L series kind of ties in with some stories that most, if not the vast majority of people won't have heard. And I guess kind of, so many people that I speak to, I started on a Pacifica, or I started on a Yamaha Acoustic, or this, that, the other. And the question I always ask is, right, what was your second acoustic? And it's whatever it was. It was a Martin or an Ovation or a Taylor or whatever. And it's like, why? And the answer is, well, I don't really know. And there's, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of models like the L series. We don't make as many of those because, they are the handcrafted, like truly handcrafted range. So, I mean, L series came out, I think it was the early 70s, I want to say. And that was in kind of, as a company, we decided, we can now make some really good guitars. We're growing the business on that front. We need a much higher end. We need a much higher quality of guitar to go up against some of our competition, which at that time, obviously, there wasn't a great deal. It was kind of Gibson and Martin. And we released the L series. And, I mean, it was taken on by so many players. you look at Woodstock and they're all out there. But Yanch, one of the more famous users. But you see Bruce Springsteen, he's used L series in the past. There was a story, I played one of the very early models, an L52. I played one in Japan, and they told me the story about that guitar, that it was kind of sent to John Lennon to try out. So like, what do you think? Jimmy Page, sorry, it was sent to Jimmy Page, because one of Jimmy Page's favorite guitars was the FG 180, which is great. And he's kind of cool, everyone loves a bit of Jimmy Page. But Jimmy loved it. We commissioned a few for him, and he said, "Oh, my buddy's in town. He wants to check it out. Can I send it to him?" And apparently we're like, I don't know, who's your friend? It's like, "Oh, it's John Lennon." So yeah, okay, that's fine. Crack on. So John plays it, has some made from it. I think then it goes to Paul Simon, James Taylor, and all these guys that were using L series at the time, and so many people don't realize that. And it's kind of, I think they're cool stories. But L series, it's a much higher or much more professional grade of instrument, I would say, more traditional.
So there's the LL6, the 16, and the 26, and the 26 is handmade, right?
They're all handmade.
Okay.
Yeah, the difference is the 6 and the 16s are made in China, and then when you get to the 26, and there's actually the 26, 36, 56, I think a 66, and it goes up to an 86. And I only found out about the 86 recently, and it's like,
wow.
it's like 10 grand, and super. We have a few like super high end classicals and steel strum that are just the elite. The 86 I believe is Japanese domestic market only, because I think Brazilian rosewood or something, and certain woods, and yeah, it's apparently the most ridiculous thing you've ever played in your life. But yeah, the L series, the 6 and the 16s are Chinese.
The 16 looks very nice for us. That's around $1,000, which is still, affordable. And it looks like a great guitar. It's a jumbo. It's very pretty. And I see it's got the Engelmann. As we were talking about the John Mayer guitar Monday with the Engelmann. This has Engelmann on it. And so it's very interesting.
Yeah, all solid as well.
Yeah, all solid wood for $1,000. So that's a guitar that is very interesting. I'll also show the viewers the 26 as well.
Yeah,
this is more expensive, right?
Yeah, these surprised me when I first played. When I first joined Yamaha, originally I was kind of like, there's such a price difference between a 16 and a 26. It was like 12 or 1,500 pounds or something here. It was a significant jump, but it was like, not being an acoustic player, I struggle to hear and in some ways feel the kind of value. But yeah, it was like the 16 is an astonishing guitar, and then you play the 26 and you're like, right, okay.
Okay, so here's the question that I've wondered to myself then. So we've got the Chinese are handmade, the Japanese ones are handmade. They use the same components, I presume. If you're talking about, not obviously the tuners are different, stuff like that. But is there really, are the Japanese ones much better than the Chinese ones? Are they, what's the deal there? Like,
I think some of it is, we're a proud company. We want the best of the best, wherever we make them or whatever materials we're using. I think certainly in Japan, there's a theory that Japanese labor is better, and there's a theory that American labor is better, or luthiers or whatever. It's not strictly true. Japanese labor is definitely more expensive than Chinese labor, and that's without getting into political rants with people on the comments. That is kind of how it is. Although we do look after our staff really, really well. But there's maybe a higher grade of wood choice, there's a number of factors that will go into the actual price difference.
Okay, but they're all handmade. I was assuming the Chinese ones were made by CNC more than the Japanese ones were made completely by hand, but that's not right.
No, I think from memory, I believe the neck has an amount of CNC, and then all the final shaping and finishing is done by hand.
Okay. Okay. All right, cool. So that is the LL26, and I think I saw another, like a 36 or something on Sweetwater that was super expensive, but looked really
Yeah, and then there's a 56.
56, yeah. So, okay, so look, at this price, to be honest with you, $22.99 for the LL26. And it's interesting because the 6 and the 16 have the passive pickup, and this one doesn't. So you're paying more money, you're not getting the pickup, and you're getting into kind of Martin and Taylor, those kind of prices. So what would you say to someone? I'll give you a sales pitch now. If someone comes to you and says, well, why should I buy this LL26 when I can buy a Martin or a Taylor? Why should I choose the Yamaha? What's your answer to that?
And this is me, this is maybe my old retail head being turned on. I will never try and sell something to someone.
Okay.
If you're the customer and you're like, right, okay, I've got a D28 and I've got an LL26. Which one do I buy? My answer to that will always be, which one do you prefer? Which one do you resonate more with?
Yeah.
Because if I force you into buying the Yamaha and you actually really want the Martin because you think it's better, playability, sound-wise or whatever, or the budget suits you better, or it's because Eric Clapton played one time or whoever, that's something that no company is ever going to compete with. I want this guitar because someone played it at some point in their career. That's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
What we want to get is that emotional content, that emotional connection from just playing it. Yeah. And that's what I'll say to anyone. Like I said earlier, if someone's just starting out, play 15 different guitars. 10 of them can be Yamaha. They're all going to have slight differences. Play the guitar that you're going to buy. Go into a store and spend the time. Wear a mask at the moment, and all that. And just place them and find the one that suits you. When I finally got around to buying an expensive acoustic a bunch of years ago, I probably played 50, and there was one that stood out.
Yeah, I need to try this LL26. It just looks like a very interesting instrument. And I agree with you. I said that in my review. I said, this 830 is great for a beginner, but if you've got the money and you want to buy a D28 because Bob Dylan played one, then buy one. Buy what you're going to play. So I like that you're saying that. You're just saying, try it. It's a great quality instrument for the price. And if you bond with it, then buy it. And I guess it also brings you back to what I was saying about forums where people have an emotional connection. A lot of people are emotionally connected to a name and a brand, and yet they really should open their minds to trying other stuff and being okay with liking other stuff, because this guitar really surprised me. It really did. And this guitar looks so interesting. The jumbo with the Engelmann, and there was an artist model at NAMM 2 years ago. The guy from Smashing Pumpkins, he had one as well. Very nice guitar. Billy Corgan, yeah. So, all right, let me go back again to my. I'm not promoting Sweetwater, by the way, but I guess I am. I have an affiliate link below with Sweetwater. You can use it if you're going to buy your Yamaha today. Let me go back to where I was. So this is that actually covers a lot of ground, doesn't it? Like from 800 to 2200, just that series alone covers quite a bit of ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we need to talk about the red labels, because I saw these a couple of years ago introduced. They've got the atmosphere pickup system, and this is something I didn't know the history. They told me there's a big history around red label guitars, and I didn't know it. Can you just remind me of that history on the red labels, please?
Well, remember I mentioned the first one, the FG 180?
Yeah.
So that was our first acoustic guitar, and inside was a red label. And, obviously we're talking about people of a certain age group. And, even now, in 10 years' time, there will be people that will have a fond memory of an APX or an FG 820 that they bought, or an 830 because they saw this video. And they'll have fond memories of that. And we have the same thing with the FG 180. So many people started playing guitar on an FG 180 because it was fantastic and it was affordable. There we go. Yeah. Use the right word. It was affordable, certainly at the time, and no one else was really doing it. So this kind of red label thing, and it became a bit of an icon, I guess. For want of a better term, this iconic red label. So 2016, I think it was, we did like an anniversary edition. 2016, the 50th anniversary. We kind of updated it, so it wasn't like the original. It was all solid and had some kind of fancy stuff and hard case and made in Japan and all this great. Although the originals were made in Japan. And it was hugely successful. We sold out. It was only a limited run. I think we did 500 globally, 400 or 500 globally. We sold them all, and people were asking for more. So it was like, right, okay, well, we want to, typical Yamaha, we want to do it, but we want to do it differently, and we want to offer something a bit more interesting. So that's kind of when we started the red label development. And yeah, it's to describe FG Red Label, I think it's the only way that I've come up with describing it. It's a new guitar that sounds old. It has all the whole research into it, and down to the bracing pattern, the wood choices, the whole construction method, and the atmosphere pickup. It was all right. Okay, how can we make a brand new guitar that has that vintage vibe, but with modern accoutrement? And we birthed a Red Label. And again, there's a bunch of different models depending on your price point, or whether you want electro or straight acoustic or whatever. So Red Label's a cool guitar, and it's definitely kind of more for the traditional player, I guess.
If you're going to buy the Red Label, I encourage you to get the one with the pickup, because it's a very good pickup system. It really is excellent. Yes. It's a bit like the Cole Clark system, but done slightly differently. It sounds very immediate, very big and full. And it's very, again, for $1,000, a guitar that sounds that good plugged in and unplugged with those features, it's amazing, because it has the kind of baked top as well, doesn't it? Which I don't normally like on other brands, but I think it works great on this guitar. Just a great guitar for the money. Again, same thing. Yeah,
I mean, well, something you kind of touched on there, which might be worth kind of talking about for a second at least. ARE, or Acoustic Resonance Enhancement, which sounds, I know, to a lot of cynics out there, it's just marketing spiel. So what it is, it's kind of it's our aging process. So yes, it does all the kind of baking thing and sorts of the moisture out. It actually changes the fibers at a molecular level. So if you see a microscopic cross section of the wood before and after, it's very different. And it's the same with a brand new guitar versus a really old guitar. And I know other companies have this, their method of aging the woods, but we actually take it one step further. And I believe there's a patent on there, or patent. If you want a guitar that is truly 10, 20, 30 years old, you're not going to find one that's never been played. Part of that aging process is actually playing it. Yeah. So, we do send vibrations through, and we have a machine that does the aging process for us. And when we first developed this, we actually took two guitar tops around to dealers, and we had one that was treated and one that wasn't. And the reps would kind of knock on one and then knock on the other, and you could hear a difference. Yeah. As they went round, the one that wasn't treated was actually aging. So it's kind of proofs in the pudding, I guess.
So this treatment, are you talking about like what Martin called VTS, like baking the top, or actually like vibrating the top to age it?
Well, both.
Oh, so it's not just baking like in an oven. it's also doing. Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Like I said, because if you want an old, one of the most desirable guitars ever, like a pre-war Martin,
Yeah.
right? And I've had the pleasure of playing one. Yeah, I mean, it's significantly different to anything you can get these days. But we're talking a guitar that's nearly 100 years old. And some obviously that are older, and it's a very specific tone and actually a very specific feel. It's kind of quite compressed to play. You get a really, really old guitar and you play it, and it's easy. It's really easy to play because it's kind of this natural compression that happens.
Yeah.
But it's something in the mid-range tonally that kind of, and there'll be probably people watching this that have played really old guitars, and they'll know what I'm talking about. This very specific mid-range, and that's what I think we managed to achieve with Red Label, is this old sound, traditional, vintage, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a guitar that sounds old but isn't, and we figured out how to reproduce that. And the great thing about the Atmosphere pickup, I think, for me is, and I've always looked for a pickup. It's like, okay, I love the sound of this guitar, and then you plug it in, and it doesn't sound like that guitar anymore. It's that all I want is my guitar sound louder, and that's what we managed to do with Atmosphere.
Yeah,
really well. It's that sound just louder.
So I was just showing on the screen the FGX5. Now I'll be honest with you, I love. Well, the thing about the X5 and the X3 is a Chinese made, Japanese made, and I think so. The 5 also comes with the hard shell case. The 3 comes with a gig bag, a very nice gig bag, but I actually prefer the gig bag. The saddle and materials and nut materials are different on the 3 to the 5. That's one thing that I would prefer. I love that. Now on the 5, I'll just give you some honest feedback. I love the look of the wood pick guard, but the way I play, I find that I get I'm a sloppy player, so my pick can scratch against that pick guard and come through the pickup system. So I would love the FGX5 with the regular plastic pick guard.
Right.
But I love the look of it. I will say that the wood pick guard looks great. But that's the only thing with that. But yeah, great guitar. We'll talk about this Atmosphere. We've been going for an hour already. I hope you've got time to go a bit longer because I want to talk about the Atmosphere system. Yeah, we're here all night, guys. We're here all week, guys. But that is a great system.
I'm going to need to go and get some beer, aren't I?
Yeah, you can do that. I so badly want them to do a rosewood guitar with a cutaway, like the 5, the stage guitars they have right now with the modeling, with the IR pickup. I want them to do one like that so badly. They have to put the Atmosphere pickup in a stage guitar with a cutaway and rosewood, and I'm sure they're going to do it. I'm sure it's going to happen pretty soon, but that has to happen very soon. That's what I was hoping to see at NAMM when I saw you in January when we saw the nylon string guitars with the pickup system. I was so hoping that we would be seeing the cutaway rosewood version, but hopefully that will come next year at what would have been NAMM. And I can't. If they do that, I'll be getting one immediately. Really great all-round guitar.
I can neither confirm nor deny, and I genuinely don't know.
Well, I have to. It's so obvious. It's so obvious that they would do it. It's such a great pickup, and so many stage players love rosewood cutaway guitars. Yamaha would just sell a bunch of them to stage guitarists if they do that.
I think, really, and this is maybe why they went with walnut for certain models as well. I think walnut is a really nice middle ground between mahogany and rosewood. It's kind of a little bit like, Koa, I guess, is kind of, they've all got these certain sounds. Rosewood is fantastic for certain things, mahogany is fantastic for certain things, and I think walnut just kind of gives you all of that really nicely balanced.
So the Red Labels are mahogany. It's not my favorite wood choice, but they sound great, and it's a great pickup system. And I've got some. Okay, I'm going to move on to some controversy next. So I hope you can talk about this stuff.
My connection's going.
Jack the Rabbit. So there's a few things I want to touch on. There's a few technologies, because Yamaha, as well as doing these traditional handmade great guitars, have done a lot of innovation. If someone wants me to talk about the silent guitar, we should talk about the silent guitar. Very innovative. they were one of the first. The hot keyword right now for acoustic guitars is impulse response. As a Line 6 guy, that's nothing new to you, but the acoustic world is now being overrun by the Tone Dexter. We've got the Fishman Aura was obviously around a while ago. We've got the Bags. Now it's now called the Voice Print DI coming out very soon. There's one by Nuex. Like everyone now, the big thing at NAMM this year for me was impulse response technology. And as we know, Yamaha, I don't know. So there's a few things I want to clear up. I don't know if you know the answer, but I know that Yamaha, Mama Bear, and Fishman did impulse responses kind of around the same time. I don't know who did it first. I would like to know. One of my guests in the past may have told me. I may have forgotten. I apologize if I did. But they all certainly did it around the same time, and it was very successful. The AG Stomp by Yamaha was really successful. People love that pedal. That had IRs basically built in. Now, here's one question for you, which has been on my mind. As great as the Atmosphere is, and one reason I love it is because it picks up body sound where the impulse response and the undersaddle does not. So that's a big thing for me. And it does sound very natural, but it still has more quack than, say, an impulse response recorded directly does. Why have Yamaha, and you probably don't know the answer, but I have to ask you anyway. Why would Yamaha be so forward-thinking with impulse responses and acoustic guitars and then kind of go back to undersaddles and body sensors and not use impulse responses anymore? Do you know the answer to that?
So, and I can actually, I say I can answer this. I can't answer it as a business decision, beyond kind of, they're two different types of players, okay? And you'll probably know this from sessions you've done, and session guys will know this, live performers will know this, or anyone that maybe plays in a function band or a wedding band. But certainly from a session point of view, there's kind of, I guess, two sort of different sounds that you want, okay? So there's the natural acoustic sound. Yeah, you want, like I said with Atmosphere, you know, the way I put it is it makes the sound, your natural guitar sound louder. It doesn't, you can transform it, but when it's just everything's flat and everything, it's just that sound louder through a PA. Right, fantastic. And yeah, you get, if you're doing the Newton Faulkner, Eric Roach thing and body slapping and whatnot, yeah, that is the guitar for you. Now, the stuff that I do, that doesn't work for me because it's too vibey. If I was playing solo acoustic, or I used to do a lot of acoustic duo stuff, which again, it was just Wonderwall and Leaving on a Jet playing cowboy chords, really easy.
Hey, watch it, that's what I do.
Hey, nothing wrong with it. Pays the bills, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. I fully endorse that. You know, it works in that context, but if I used that, for example, in the band that I play most in, which is, you know, drums, bass, keyboards, multiple vocals, there you go. There you go. Do you play that live?
That's what. Oh, that guitar.
No. Do you play Wonderwall when you do? Oh yeah,
gigs? I must have played it a million times, and you know what? I still like it. Oasis were the band that got me into the guitar, and I'm not ashamed to say it.
Dude, play it reggae. It's brilliant. It works perfectly.
No, come on, it's a great song. Great song. There's not many songs where you can play that one chord and people know what it is. That's really. It's not even a riff. It's just a strum on one chord, and everyone's like Wonderwall. Amazing.
Yeah, it's like that and Hard Day's Night.
Yeah, but that's you know.
Yeah. But no, I mean, so yeah. Look, that's my main. That's the A.
That's a great guitar. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the pick guard. It looks very like Batman's pick guard.
I see no problem with that.
That's not a dog on Batman. No, a lot of my friends play them. They're an amazing stage guitar. Right, now you're right. If you don't want body sound, that's the one to get, because it sounds. You can have it sound like a mic, like modeling,
Yes.
impulse responses, not modeling, impulse responses. But the Atmosphere is great for drumming on. You know, obviously, you know where I'm going with this. What I want to see from a company like Yamaha is both. I want the atmosphere and impulse responses in one unit where I can make any mixture of any combination that I want, whether I'm recording direct or playing on stage.
Okay.
So can you report that to your friends?
I'm sure they'll see this. Yeah, it's possibly something that could be called for. I mean, the impulse response thing, yeah, it's met with some people, I think, well, and others not. And I was dubious, growing up with APXs and kind of older, just piezo, potato, tomato, and all that. That quacky immediate thing, it just doesn't sound very natural, but that's the sound that so many of us have had to deal with for so many years.
Yeah.
And then I got the first guitar I got with the SRT system, and it had those kind of impulses built in, and it's like, right, okay, there's a different world.
Yeah.
You can get an amount of body resonance out of it, but no, it's nowhere near as vibey as something with a mic built in.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe if we did an SRT and you could ring a mic up, I'm sure someone can hack one and maybe build a mic in as well and a blend for that. But if you look at someone like Newton Faulkner, he has multiple systems, so you could absolutely add a microphone into this. You could get an A series or an APX 1200 or something with the SRT. Have those impulse responses, and then put another pickup system in there with a mic. No problem at all.
Yeah. Or they could bring back the AG Stomp, or they could put those. They could put the IRs of the Yamaha guitars in the Helix, and then let Helix users buy the Yamaha guitars and something like that, right? Because an HX Stomp with those impulse responses could be really great. That's a whole new world. But I did a great recording last week where I used a K&K with a tone dexter, and I also recorded a mic, and I blended the two, and it just sounded great. So for recording, I love impulse responses. I don't love them live. They're a bit too distant for me and not punchy enough, but I'd love to have the option of using one or the other or blending them. And I feel like, I just think the acoustic world's interesting because we're kind of going impulse response, and then, under saddle body sensors, and then impulse response. It's kind of going like this. It's kind of going back and forward, and I just wonder, I'm waiting to see where it kind of meets in the middle, or if they can indeed have a system like Atmosphere that also has an add-on pedal that does that stuff, which, we have it. We have tone. I mean, have you seen the Tone Dexter pedal? It's great. You can plug a mic in, you can make an impulse response of your guitar and blend it.
Right.
So
I've heard the name. I've not done any research on it. I think I've heard, it may have been from you or someone at NAMM, but or one of our guys. But I've heard of it. I've not looked into it yet.
Yeah. So I want to try. I want to try stuff like that. But all right, next controversial question comes from Jack the Rabbit. So you mentioned. Oh no, that was something else. He said, I've heard Yamaha invented the Tonewood amp idea. So we haven't talked about these guitars, the trans acoustic guitars. First of all, for anyone that doesn't know, what are they? And then Jack is saying, what came first, the trans acoustic guitar or the Tonewood amp? And was there any kind of legal history involved there?
No. And if I can be frank, there isn't, because we're not dicks. And it's like, trying not to be corporate. We're not. The concept, I think we started the concept in 2008.
Okay.
So a very long time before the Tonewood, which was, I think, only came out in 2016, was it? Something like that. And look, the Tonewood amp, I've never tried one. I've heard good things. I think the concept is somewhat similar, but no, trans acoustic came first, and it actually wasn't in a guitar, it was in a piano.
Yes. Yeah.
Certainly a few years before the Tonewood was released, and then we launched trans acoustic in 2015. I think it got its first outing at Winter NAMM, and then was kind of officially launched at Music Messe that year. In fact, that was one of my first things with Yamaha was launching trans acoustic.
So it was in a piano first. So it it was invented a long time ago. It was in a piano
Yeah,
first of all. That's
yeah.
nice.
The concept started in 2008. Yeah, we acquired Line 6 in 2013, and that's kind of where the collaboration kind of happened. And it got released. So finally kind of saw the light. And it's cool. You know, what is it? It's the most amazing thing ever. I mean, we played them at NAMM, and you probably play them as well. If you haven't tried one, you've got to try one. And I can demo this now, and you'll go, well, that's cool. It's nothing like hearing the thing in person. It's insane.
Yeah. So basically, it uses the body of the guitar to reproduce reverb effect from the guitar, right? You don't plug it in. It just comes out of the sound hole.
Exactly. So
we'll have a quick demo. Why not?
So look, no wires, Mum. There we go. And it's slightly out of tune. And then I'll hold the button, and all of a sudden,
yeah, it's nice. It's the ultimate couch guitar because you haven't got to play. I mean, I often people don't know this. I often plug in my acoustic guitar straight into the Helix. I like to use the looper and the reverb and the delays. But some people just want to sit on the couch or play on the porch and have that reverb, especially if you're doing fingerstyle and bluegrass kind of picking. That reverb sounds you can't play without it once you've played with it, right?
Well, as I always say, kind of going back to kind of clubland days and dealing with club vocalists, it's like, yeah, can I have some more talent on that, please? Because you put reverb on, and so it's like talent. You play better. Yeah. I mean, at NAMM, we're sat with Henning, and it's kind of the thing with this is it is addictive, but yeah, it's just better with it on, and the guitar itself sounds insane, but when you put that reverb on, it's just like this comfort blanket and awesome.
Is that the FGTA brand Sunburst?
This is the L Series one. I do have the FG kind of in my garage at the moment, but this is the L Series one. So we initially launched it on the L Series.
Okay, so it's the LLTA, right?
Yes.
That's
correct.
So it's about $1,000. So it's basically an L Series guitar with that technology built into it.
Exactly. And then there's the FG. There's also a CSF, which is the little kind of mini parlor guitar, and a CG nylon string. And the nylon string is just beautiful.
$1,000. I mean, so it's an LL guitar. So it's a jumbo body, and what?
Dreadnought.
Oh, Dreadnought. And what are the woods on that then?
Rosewood and spruce.
Oh, great. That must be, so it's a great sounding acoustic, great sounding
also
on the couch. You can plug it in as well. $1,000. Again, for the technology you're getting, that's a great deal. I like that. They've got one. The only thing I'll say is they got 4 on Sweetwater right now. It does add a bit of weight to the guitar, right?
Oh, negligible. I mean, I'm a big cake.
Like a pound or something, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's heavier, but hardly at all.
Okay, so that's really cool. And Henning just did a review of that on his channel, so check that out on Henning Pauly's channel because that was cool.
That dude, the guy he had on, did you hear his voice?
Yeah. Oh, Henning or the other guy?
No, the other guy that was singing and playing.
Yeah, he's great.
I heard Henning's voice.
He's great. My only disappointment was he didn't play Wonderwall in the demo, but otherwise it was fantastic. That's a great demo, and I think for some, I think I think they're a little bit niche, but for the right person, they're absolutely ideal. And again, so forward thinking with the technology. Right, now talking about technology, we have to talk about the silent guitar because we were asked to.
Yes.
So when were these invented and why and who are they for? Because some people see them and just freak out, right?
They're for, I can't tell you when it came out, a while ago. We're on the second version now. So there was an original version which was a little bit quirkier shape-wise. The shape of the frame was, in my opinion, what do I know? But personal taste and whatnot. Yeah, it was a little bit less traditional than the current version. The current one, the frame, the silhouette is a bit more kind of palatable, I guess, for more people. But I think it appeals to a bunch of different people. So, there was a time when my kids were really young and I certainly couldn't play electric guitar, and acoustic guitar was a challenge. It still has a volume. And when we released silent guitar, and it's crazy now because I still see people now that have never seen one, and they pick it up and it's like this guitar with no body, and it doesn't make a sound. It's silent. Beyond it's as loud as an electric guitar acoustically. And then they plug the headphones in, and it's just surrounded in this amazing noise. And you see people's faces light up in the same way that when someone tries transacoustic for the first time, it's just this beam and smile, and it's a beautiful thing. So certainly people that are practicing at home, that need to practice silently, people that travel, because it's so lightweight and packs down into a really small gig bag. The top part of the frame comes off, and it just gets really small, so you can travel with it easy. Live players, if you do big gigs, like super big gigs, to play a proper acoustic guitar, even an electroacoustic guitar at super high volume, can be troublesome. And if you've got a remarkably average sound, you're going to get feedback, you're going to get all sorts of problems. Sonic guitar, you just don't get that because there's no body resonance. There's nothing to feed back.
Yeah.
So, Brian May played one for years and years and years.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, a lot of people don't know the players that played them. I was looking up earlier online the amount of people that have played them. I was reading that, who does Leaving on a Jet Plane?
John Denver.
John Denver, yeah, he custom ordered a Yamaha guitar. So yeah, I know. Yeah, and I play at a big restaurant. Well, I used to play. Hopefully, I'll play again soon. Big restaurant here, and one of the guys there plays. He's more of an electric player. He does a lot of instrumental music, and he plays Yamaha silent guitar there. And sometimes these things that look different are good. The audience remembers you. But I used to play a 3/4 size Maton guitar, and people used to say, "Oh, you're the guy that plays the little guitar." So with the silent guitar, everyone remembers this musician maybe more than me because they remember the guitar that he's playing. So it can be a cool look on stage, and like you said, there's zero feedback because there's zero body, right? So it's practical and great for traveling with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind with the new one, the SLG 200 series, it's got the SRT, so it sounds like an incredible mic'd acoustic guitar, which is, like I say, bizarre when you see someone put headphones on and try it for the first time, but you plug it into a PA and it's just this enormous big sound. And from a guitar that has no body, it's kind of strange.
I will give a shout out as well to this Tone Dexter pedal. I haven't tried it yet, but they actually made some silent guitar images, that are free when you buy the pedal. You download them, and you can run the silent guitar without the imaging through this and try this imaging for the silent guitar. So I must give that a try on the channel one day. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so we've done transacoustic, we've done silent guitar. Let me see if I've missed anything here. I mentioned AG Stomp briefly, SRT2, and the Atmosphere. Have I missed any Yamaha acoustic guitar technologies that we should have covered? Let me know in the chat. And I got some questions for you as well. Jack said, I
don't know about technologies, but there's maybe a couple of models that we've missed. But no, go, Jack.
Jack said the LL transacoustic is Engelmann spruce over rosewood like the regular LL guitars. Is that right or not? He's Googling.
You're asking me specs.
He's Googling. Well, I just assumed all the LL guitars were Engelmann as well, but I don't know.
We use Engelmann on some guitars and Sitka on others. Specs. I can tell you. I can tell you in a minute.
He's looking
Yeah.
on Google as well, everyone.
Um, yeah. Yeah. So all of the L series are all solid Engelmann,
Okay.
and they all have the ARE treatment.
It's interesting. Do you know why Yamaha use so much Engelmann on these guitars?
No,
Yeah. Because on
if I'm honest, maybe a preference. Maybe it could be, again, research. We talk to people, and it's kind of, what do you prefer? If you asked me what I preferred between Engelmann and Sitka, I couldn't tell you the difference.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Dude, I've spent so many years in loud kind of rock bands and doing all that with no ear protection next to heavy-handed drummers and samples. So it's like, don't ask me about acoustic toner. I'm awful, really.
Well, the thing people say about Engelmann is it doesn't have as much headroom as Sitka Spruce does, but it does have some pretty qualities to it, right? And so I just wondered, there must be a reason why Yamaha chose that, because it just appears on a lot of their models. That's why I found it interesting. But it is a nice wood.
I mean, that would ring true with the kind of sound of. In fact, actually, let's just compare that real quick. Yeah, because the L series is, it's bright and sparkly, but sort of warm and woody, for want of a better term. It's just really well balanced. And if the Engelmann is, a little bit or softer compression wise than Sitka, then yeah, that would probably make sense. That one doesn't say. Ignore me. So yeah, I mean, there will be technical reasons. There will be request reasons. Like I say, when we don't just go out and build a guitar that we want to build. We talk to a lot of customers. We talk to artists. We talk to other luthiers. We talk to friends. We talk amongst ourselves, and it's kind of right. Okay, we're going to build a new guitar. What are we going to build? Let's start talking to people. So, and hopefully we can get something that people like.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm a fan of Engelmann, but I just noticed that Yamaha use a lot of it. That's a good thing. Danielle says, okay, question for you. And someone asked me this on my video on this guitar the other day, and I can't remember what I think. But Danielle says, how's the physical balance on the silent guitar? Because it has less body, is it neck heavy? Does it have that, when a guitar neck dives, when you let it go on the strap? You got any thoughts on that? We'd have to try it.
Yeah.
And someone also said, I did a review of that a year ago, and someone said, I'm disappointed. It's not really silent. It still makes noise. It's like on the Variax, isn't it? When you do the tunings on Variax guitars are amazing. I don't know how they did it. I mean, that was a while ago. They made that system. It works so well. But you still hear the natural strings, of course, when you do alternate tunings. So you have to wear in-ears or turn your amp up very loud, or you're still going to hear the natural strings. But actually, yeah, we didn't talk about that. I mean, the Variax acoustic, that was very ahead of its time. And the acoustic sounds in the electrics, considering as electric strings, they sound really. I mean, some people complain about them. They say they don't sound like what they're used to hearing from an acoustic. But when you record it, it sounds like a mic'd acoustic, which is impressive. It really is.
What, dude? I did a tour a few years ago, and it was fantastic. And I had an acoustic for, I think we did 3 songs which had acoustic in, and I snapped a string one night, and I didn't have a backup acoustic. I've got backups for everything else, but because it was just 3 songs, I was like, yeah, I'll get away with it. I don't play hard on acoustic. It was all ballady stuff. Snapped a string, obviously, picked the Variax up, plugged that in. I was like, yeah, this sounds incredible. I'm just going to use this. So the next break we had, I left the acoustic at home and just used Variax for it, and it was killer.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd bring back the Variax acoustic. I think James Taylor played one for a while. Like just
a bunch of surprising people played Variax acoustic, like James Hetfield.
Yeah, and you too, right? The Edge.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We made a couple for the Edge. Yeah, I mean, I used Variax Acoustic for 4 years, I think,
Mm.
live. And I did, I probably used 4 or 5 of the different models, but I did use the nylon. The nylon was insane. And I'm certainly, I'm barely a steel strung acoustic player, but you put a nylon in my hands and I go to pieces. Which is the great thing about the NX, because you've got the NTX, which is kind of like the APX and slimmer body and slimmer necks. I can play those nylon guitars, but you give me a traditional one, and yeah, I'm done for.
Why do you think the Variax Acoustic went away? Do you think there's too small of a market for the acoustic world, or do you think there's other reasons?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's certain things that have come in the last few years, technology wise, that people have embraced. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really simple. So we talk about the impulse responses, and the acoustic that I was using on the tour. It just had a regular it was a Fishman Matrix Infinity, which was a great pickup, but still didn't sound like my guitar louder.
Yeah.
So I found some impulse responses for free that I could load into Helix and use that. And yeah, it was like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm kind of a little bit more old school, and I fear as much as I use. I mean, if you saw the amount of technology that's on the floor here and in front of me, I embrace technology to an extent, but I'm still a 40-something guitar player that, I like valve amps and I like kind of this and that and the other. So I'm like a lot of players, I still fear a lot of technology as much as I can embrace it. I think Variax Acoustic was probably a step too far for the masses. Yeah. We did great with it, but I think it ran its course.
Yeah.
And for the most part, people will have maybe, 2 or 3 acoustics, and they're kind of happy with that. I mean, unless that's all they.
For when I'm playing my solo shows, to have access to those tunings and things, if especially when you're playing with in-ears, it'd just be an amazing. And it sounds really good. The sounds I've heard of it, because it's got the actual acoustic strings. Sounds really good. Yeah. But that was kind of before I got into gear when that thing was around, and now of course you see them occasionally, but they discontinued it. But I mean, I'm old school. I love simplicity. I also love the idea of technology, and I just wish there was more stuff like that for acoustic players. I always say it on here. TC Helicon did vocal harmonies, and Line 6 did the Variax Acoustic, and I want, because of this kind of gigs I do and what I love, I want more of that. And it's frustrating to me sometimes because there's all this gear for electric players. When you go to NAMM, everything 90% is electric guitar, amps, pedals. And then there's a small percentage of acoustic and violins and all that stuff, but it's mainly geared towards technology. I feel is mainly geared towards the electric player. And I don't know if that's because the market is bigger or because electric players just want more effects. But I mean, I was using the Helix in live streams with a vocal mic and the acoustic guitar, and it worked great for that, So I always have to say on every interview, I want companies to do more for singers and acoustic guitarists. But, maybe I'm just a niche. Maybe I'm not the market for these companies, So who knows?
I don't. I mean, no, I wouldn't agree with that. I think the rise of artists like Ed Sheeran and Damien Rice, and Newton Faulkner, and all these kind of guys that they get up on stage and, Christ, Newton Faulkner or the other guy that I forgot the name of, Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran, yeah.
God, just went then. They get on stage in front of 30 or 40,000 people. It's their gig, and it's just them.
Yeah,
which is insane. So I don't think the singer-songwriter solo acoustic thing has gone away at all. The technology, the addition of technology to that, I think is still an important thing. How much of that can be sold, how serious people take that sort of things. I've got a bunch of really good friends locally that's all they do for a living. They go out on their own and they play Wonderwall, and they play, Sit Down by James, and Ed Sheeran songs, or Nick and Faulkner, or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's their living. They could absolutely do with that technology, but I guess, how much of it are they going to use? Can they warrant that? There's all these things that need taken into account. But who knows what the future might bring for TC, or for Helix, or Variax. What you could do, if you find an old Variax acoustic, and I saw a guy do this not a million miles away from here, you could rip the technology out and put it in your FG.
That's interesting. Although I wouldn't mind just using that as it is. I just started a new series on apps, because I feel like apps on iOS and those devices are filling a lot of the gaps that I'm missing. Like, I have an app where I can type in the chord progression. So say I'm doing Knocking on Heaven's Door, GD, A minor, whatever. I can just type it in. If I can program a MIDI switch on the Helix, when I hit it, it plays the chord and sustains it on an organ. And when I tap the switch again, it changes the chord. So I can back myself up with those pad sounds while I'm playing the guitar. See, it sounds a bit gimmicky, but it works. And it's great I do a lot of 3-piece band solo shows. I want more stuff like that. And the apps are actually giving it to me. Like Quantaloop, you can patch Quantaloop from the phone, which is an amazing multi-track looper app, into the Helix. So one thing that Eric Klein did so well with the Helix was to make it work with other gear. Yeah. That was really clever and forward thinking. But I think I also want more. I also want that stuff baked into the products as well, so it's just an all-in-one and makes it more accessible for more people. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that in the future. I hope it comes in the future. I mean, they're talking about. He's been very vocal about putting pitch shift into Helix 3.0. But even then, you can't change individual strings. You can just bring the whole thing down a step, which will be useful. But the thing about the thing that's so impressive with Variax is you could do DADGAD and stuff like that. That was just such a great. Yeah. I don't know how they did it. There's not even much latency on those guitars. It's just really impressive. Do you know who actually invented the Variax stuff? Whose idea and who actually sat down and made that a reality? Because that stuff was way ahead of its time.
The whole team, and you got to remember, the kind of back then, there were some names kind of working for the company that people know now in the industry. Guys like George Trips, Dan Cohen, James Santiago, some incredible minds, and it exactly the same as now. It's a team effort, right? Someone will come up with an idea, and we'll talk about it, and that'll just manifest into something else. And when you've got a bunch of people that just want to make amazing gear, then you end up with amazing products. So, and I think a big part of that is listening to customers. And I know Eric said this, and I say it all the time. There are so many features in Helix that are direct from customers. Posted on Ideas Scale or whatever. Or on the forums, and we look, we watch, we listen, we talk to people, and we go, yeah, that's really cool. So, and whether that's a specific model of something, or a feature, there was a feature that came out recently for Helix that I've been wanting for a long time, and that's where you can assign any button to be anything. So now I can have like 6 snapshots and a couple of instant access. Yeah. Perfect, because that's how I'm used to working with my old switching system.
Do you think, it's interesting, we were talking about Variax. I have the Stagescape here that Line 6 used to do PA gear, microphones, modeling microphones. You've got, so right now it's like the Helix line and the wireless line. Has there been a shift away from PA gear and acoustic stuff? Do you think that's, how has the Yamaha acquisition changed the philosophy? I've asked this before to Joe, but I want to ask you as well. So I'm going to get another input into this. Do you think? I was watching an interview last night with Bogner, and I told you before we went live, it really blew my mind. Bogner and Line 6 worked together on an amp that was one of his amps, but made with the help of Line 6 using their resources in China. I think it was in China, at a lower price point, with delay built in, which is I think is a brilliant idea, but still a tube amp. Stuff like that and the Variax and all that stuff, so ahead of its time. And that's not to knock the Helix. Helix is amazing, also ahead of its time. And the way it controls stuff and does all that stuff is amazing. But is the focus now? Has the focus shifted in these? Are we never going to see a shift back to any sort of PA gear or anything like that? Is the focus now purely on the electric guitar market for Line 6?
Honestly, and this is hand on heart, I can't tell you. And that's not because of any employment contracts or anything. I don't know. You know, I think with so many, if a company doesn't work this way, there's something wrong. And that's if a company, you know, if Line 6 is a company or Yamaha is a company are asked time and time again to do something
right
by enough people,
right.
If they didn't do that, then I would see that as being selfish or ignorant or whatever. You know, if there's an instant customer base there, if you've got 100,000 people saying, I want this, here is my money, make it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, that kind of, yeah, we need to probably do that then.
Right.
Line 6 making PA, I think Line 6 PA was ahead of its time, and probably more advanced than a lot of people needed. But obviously remember that Yamaha make some of the best PA that you can buy. And if you can afford more than that, then we have Nexo as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and
we'll see. I mean, I was really surprised that like Sam, that I know does all the modeling and stuff. He helped to do the pickup in the nylon string version of the guitar with the atmosphere pickup. So there's definitely some crossover there. We'll have to see. I don't want to harp on about it too much. I obviously have an interest in singing and acoustic guitar technology, and I'm always pushing for that. But obviously, you're right. It's about numbers, and you've got to make products that are going to sell. I mean, I said the same thing to Martin. I said, I love your cutaway dreads with the Anthem pickup in it, and he said to me, well, we're not selling enough of them, we discontinued them. It's just, right. It's a business, right? It's got to make money. But I really hope we see, because you're right, it doesn't make sense to me. Ed Sheeran sells so many records, so many kids now want to be the next Ed Sheeran. So why is there not more stuff for those kind of players? So we'll see. We'll have to stay tuned for that.
I think the gear is out there. It's just like anything, you know. Like I guess the same way as a guitar player, yeah, you can absolutely get a multi-effect, so you can get something that does a bit of everything. But there isn't anything that does everything. So it's just kind of amassing this little small collection of gear, and it's a toolbox, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So look, we're gonna start to wrap up. So if I missed your question, please post it again so I can ask. And I do have an interesting one from my friend Peter Gregg. It does a photography and video channel. Hi, Peter. Good to see you, my friend. He says, ask Ross to give a tour of his background all the way down to the lava lamp. So can we do that for Peter? I'll put you on full screen. What's with the lights? I mean, do you have your own like disco in there, or what's the deal with that?
It's Christmas. So, genuinely, there's like... I kind of designed this. I mean, this was a direct rip-off from a guy on YouTube called Michael Nielsen, he's based in LA, and he's got a great YouTube channel, big hairy guitars, and it's awesome. He just has the most insane studio and collection of gear, and does a lot of kind of film work and whatever. And he has kind of an amp setup sort of similar to this, and I'm like, yeah, that looks cool. And a lot of this, I kind of designed this studio because and this is all from this year when obviously the virus hit, and it's like, right, because my job normally is to not be in here, it's to be out somewhere around the world visiting stores and doing clinics or training or whatever. And obviously this year's put a stop to that. So doing a lot more work from home, I thought, I need something that looks a little bit better. So I used to be a carpenter in a former life, and yeah, built this, and there we go. Put some guitars on the wall. I got a lava lamp and stole things from the Christmas tree box, and yeah. That's nice. So that's kind of it. But just a collection of amps. I've got a couple of Line 6 power cabs down here. There's a Marshall amp, there's a Boogie amp, there's a Bad Cat amp, which is awesome. Started some rack gear. just a little 112 down there. I've got pedal boards on the floor, and I've got studio rack gear in front of me here. And it's just, a lot of it is just, it's a nice place to work. You know, it's cool.
Oh, it looks great. That's what I really want. The guitars on the wall. If I switch to me, I'm trying to do that. All I have behind me is a closet. And if I zoom out on myself, I do have this microphone I got from Etsy now, which I think looks nice on my Martin stall. I've got my guitars there, and I've got the Stagescape and my Synergy combo amp and the AC. Yeah, I need a wall of guitars behind me as well. That would look much better. Check out Peter Gregg's channel. He has the Christmas room, so he has Christmas all year round on his YouTube channel. Go and check him out.
I'm going to make a note. Peter Gregg.
Peter Gregg, yeah. Peter Gregg and Peter Gregg Live. Danielle says, is that a Mike Stern guitar on the left?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Yes, it is, with a hat on it.
Oh, I see.
Ah.
Is that a current model then? I'm not familiar with this one.
Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah, Mike Stern signature model. 1611 MS is the official model, but it's fantastic.
That's nice.
Although I'm kind of, I love the bridge pickup. This one's a little bit too dark for me, so I'm going to swap that out for a P90.
So do you swap? It sounds like you like to fiddle with most of your guitars. Are you a tinkerer? Do you switch pickups out a lot? Have you got anything that's purely stock up there? The Variax, I guess, is stock, right?
Yeah, in fact, everything that's on there. So everything that's on there. Sir Red Star, that's a Supro, which just used for slide, and the Variax, the Mike Stern is stock for now. And then in the garage, I've got a bunch of other guitars. Just whatever. Some of them are stock. Some of them I've tinkered with. The tinkering is, oh yeah, I quite like this, but I need this. So I was a Strat guy for a lot of years. So on this, and I've not done it with the Sur yet, but Pacifica's come standard with a coil split. I've never been a big fan of coil splits. I just think they sound a little bit too weedy. So that is now a series parallel switch. I prefer series parallel over coil split, but that's just a personal preference.
So you know what you like?
I know what I want to achieve, I think. And because I work with a lot, it's me and some friends, and we're kind of like, we're a band for hire. We're like a really average Toto. If Toto were a bit crap and from Mansfield, then that'd be us. So yeah, it's kind of, we play rock and indie and pop and funk and jazz and Motown and R&B. So I need stuff that covers a lot of that. And I can do a whole gig on that Pacifica, and it works great.
Mm. So yeah, actually, before we go, I'll ask your opinion then. So I have an SSS Strat that I love, but for the heavy, and I usually play clean, but for the heavier rock stuff, I was thinking today, you know what, I need a humbucker in the bridge. I guess what you're going to say is you would just change the pickup to a humbucker. Do you think Strat fans should have an SSS Strat and an SS8 Strat, or should they just change the pickup to suit their needs? What do you think?
In my opinion, it's not as important as we'll probably make out. For you, I mean, I could probably get away with 99% of what I do with a telly or with that Mike Stern, and just dial the sounds in slightly differently. Yeah. There's a great video, and I can't remember the guy's name, but if you get on YouTube and search "Tone is a Lie," it goes on all about this, and tone is subjective. It's this, that, the other, and you can kind of fool not just other people's minds, but you can fool your own mind or your own ears into thinking that you're hearing something that you're maybe not. If you've got a 3 single coil guitar, you can absolutely play that. if you want to play metal, all you've got to do is look at Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro. He plays a Strat with vintage pickups,
Okay.
and that's metal.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like the difference is so subtle, really, and you can use boost pedals and stuff and things like that. So I was thinking maybe I don't need it. But, sometimes you have those days where you start blaming the pickups, but you can just dial in the sound differently. I agree. A lot of it is EQ and pushing the amp and stuff like that. But I noticed you have the humbucker guitars. That's why I asked you, because your Strats are all SSH, right?
Yeah, I think some of that is there is an amount of tone, because I traditionally just use one preset and try and get everything else from the guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need access to certain things straight away, and the humbucker with the series parallel switch, that kind of does quite a bit, and it's more like a Tele style bridge than a Strat style bridge. To my ears, it's a little bit more twangy, and I kind of prefer that. So, yeah, it's just fun. Gear's fun. But yeah, I mean, I guess kind of the takeaway acoustic wise, like we said earlier, if there's anyone listening or watching still after 5 hours, we just talking.
They're in the chat, but they're all asleep, I think, or on.
Hello. They're all asleep. It's like, what is it now? It's 20 to 11 here. It's all good, but for anyone that wants to learn or that's watching this and then maybe, I want to go and buy my first guitar, I can't stress enough, it would be awesome if you ended up with a Yamaha, right? And we would thank you, and we would look after you and nurture you, throughout. And we have guitars that you can follow on to, absolutely. But I can't stress enough, a Yamaha guitar is only going to be good for you if you like it. If you don't like it, then we kind of probably don't want you to buy it, because you're not going to. If you've got a guitar you don't like, whether that's the look of or the sound of or the playability, you're not going to want to play it, and we want you to play it. If your first guitar that you're learning on because it's comfortable or you like the sound or the look is not a Yamaha, that's okay, right? Go and get a guitar that you like the look or the sound of, and that you can play music, right?
Yeah.
And then when you want to move up, play a Yamaha guitar, you might like it then.
Yeah. It's just hard right now because a lot of us can't get out to try guitars, and I mean, please, if you haven't seen my review of the 830, the Sonic guitar, the red labels, please check them out. And if I'd like to think that I can testify to say they're great guitars, but again, like you said, you have to play it, because some people like fat necks, some people like thin necks, some people like satin, some people like gloss, some people like this. So I can tell you that these ones have my approval. But yeah, if you can play them, of course you have to. One great thing over here is you can order a guitar and try it, and if you made a mistake, you can return it for something else, which is a nice thing. I think that's from my experience in the UK, that was harder to do, and you have to get out to a store really. But we'll just leave it at that. They're great value for money, and
yeah, and again, something that people may have missed earlier, we make our guitars. No one makes our guitars for us.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. There's a lot of there's a few companies that make guitars for a lot of different brands. You buy a Yamaha guitar, it's made by Yamaha, and it's looked after by us. And we don't ever want any substandard gear out there. So when you pick up a Yamaha guitar, it's checked by us from manufacturing. When it gets to our distribution centers and gets to the store, it's checked throughout. So and I hear all the time someone buys a one mail order and they get it out and it's in tune. It's crazy.
No, let us know. I just make sure in the chat if you joined us for the show. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate that. This will be on my channel to watch. If you've got any friends interested in acoustic guitars, please send it to them. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and ring the notification bell. I hope to cover more Yamaha guitars, both electric and acoustic, in the future, and I look forward to seeing where they take this technology. I look forward to seeing the future of the pickups from Yamaha guitars. And I also look forward to seeing what Line 6 and both companies do for acoustic players like myself. So I hope I didn't miss your question in the chat. If I did, you can quickly type it now, or I apologize for missing it. We had a lot of people talking in there. Great to see you all hanging out with us. I'll finish with 3 quick fire questions that I wrote for you, Ross, okay?
Go.
Right. Favorite acoustic guitar?
A5.
Favorite Helix amp model?
I need to be careful because can't say the wrong thing. It's the Cali. It's the model of.
The model of the Lone
I
Star?
should know this. It's my favourite.
Oh no!
I'm an idiot.
This was
Cali Texas Channel 1 and 2 because that's the amp that I use the most.
Because you have a Lone Star, right? Nice. And favorite British TV show?
Hang on. Something's happened.
What's that?
Something's muted.
Uh-oh.
Audio.
He hit a button. Thank you, Jack the Rabbit. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for your questions too. And thanks, Patsy Smith. Thank you. Oh, BMO. I always wonder what the HIPS stood for in humbucker.
Right, there we go. Sorry, I didn't get it because you dropped.
Can you hear me again?
I can hear you again. Hear me now.
My final question was, actually, I might have one here from BMO. BMO says, what's HIPS stand for in humbucker? I've never heard of that. Have you? Oh, okay. Yamaha active 80s Yamaha active pickups. There was the HIPS system in their active pickups. Are you familiar with that? I've never heard of it.
Active electric pickups or acoustic?
Electric in the 80s. Active pickups by Yamaha guitars.
That's before I was born.
Not quite.
No, I don't know.
Is
the easy cop-out answer.
HIPS. I don't know, BMO, and I just Googled it and I can't even find the answer on Google. So that's
it could easily be kind of, our answer to EMG, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. I cannot find a list of acronyms for Yamaha. Can you write one for me? I need a list of all what these letters mean. So it took me years to learn all the Martin guitar ones, like what the numbers meant and the letters and everything. I need to now learn these Yamaha ones. They always make it so confusing. I asked you the other day, like, what does the serial number mean? It's like it's not easy to tell these things. But HIPS, that was like an 80s rock thing, I'm sure, like an active, like the Yamaha active pickup. But I don't know what the acronym means. If you know, please let me know in the chat, in the comments below. Bob Dobson, thanks for joining us. Sasquatch will be back with you soon. My final question was, what's your favourite British TV show?
My favourite British TV show? Monty Python.
Monty Python, okay. Sounds like you don't watch TV. Too busy playing your Yamaha guitars.
True story.
All right, man. Look, thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. Thanks, Ross, for hanging out with me. I'm so upset I missed you. There's obviously no Summer NAMM. I love coming to Summer NAMM in Nashville. I'm sad there'll be no Winter NAMM. So I hope that if there is a big acoustic guitar reveal over the next few months, we can do another one of these and just talk about one guitar. We tried to cover a lot of ground today, and I think we did cover a lot. But there's so many models, right? I just realized that from going through Sweetwater. There's so many acoustic guitar models on the Yamaha line, and then there's electric guitars as well. There's just so much to cover.
I think there's 140,000 different SKUs. No, there's not. We've got, we have a guitar for every price point and every style and every look.
Jack said, be glad you're not doing an Ibanez show. I guess they have even more acronyms.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Ross, thanks for hanging out. I'll stay on the line. I'll say goodbye to you when I log off. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Check out the Yamaha guitars. Check out the pickup reviews. On my channel, I have a review of the silent guitar pickup, the atmosphere pickup, and I have reviews of those guitars and also the FG guitar as well. So check those out for me. Let me know what you think. And subscribe and stay tuned for next time. And thanks for hanging with us. And everyone be well. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Latest.